Okay, so are you ready to go?
No.
Like, we're going to leave in a few minutes, right?
No, definitely not.
Not ready to go yet.
Not ready to go yet.
Well, the good news is we have about 60 days until we actually go wheels up on this trip. And we kind of felt like episode 1 was a good place to kind of set the standard of the why we are doing this. Because I get 2 questions when we talk about this trip. Where are you going? That's the number 1 question. Everybody wants to know where you're going. And we're not going to give all that information out yet. You got to kind of follow us along as we go through this journey to know where we're going. But the second question is, why are we doing this? And why are we doing this when we're in our mid-50s?
Early 50s.
Early to mid-50s, okay. And we're not retirement eligible, really, in terms of being able to do that for the rest of our lives. So why are we stopping our lives, for lack of a better word and term, to take this trip? And so I think the why is the first question. That first question took me a few years to convince you to agree to, because you did not want it originally to have anything to do with this.
Oh, there was too many logistics to figure out, and how do we get it all done? You know, what do we do with the house? What do we do with our cars? What do we do? You know, we've got family around. My parents are still alive. There's just a lot of things to think about. My job. What am I going to do about my job?
Well, there's a lot of questions, but eventually you just conceded, I think.
I did. I did.
And allowed me to win this one. And I think one of the great things about being married, and we'll talk about that in the why video, is for so long is that you have to both agree to go wherever you're going to go. And I think that's kind of if one wants to do something that the other doesn't want to do, it's just not going to work. So we wanted to spend some part of this first episode explaining the why, and did a little bit of that. We'll continue to do a little bit of this. Hang tight till the end of the video, because we're going to talk about, while this all sounds great and exciting, and we're all fired up about it for 60 days from now, it does have some things that cause us to be a little worried or concerned or just have some thoughts about. So we'll get to that at the end of the video. But for now, episode 1, this is the why. This journey began with 2 extraordinary people, my parents, Gene and Shirley. They devoted their lives to raising me and my siblings, giving us everything we needed. They often put their own dreams on hold to make sure that we had a joyful childhood and a loving home.
When Scott and his brother and sister grew up and started families of their own, Gene and Shirley finally had a chance to look ahead, dream of their golden years, full of adventure and well-earned rest.
But life had other plans. My mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My dad became her devoted caregiver for many years. Not long before she passed, he developed a lung disease of his own, and after she was gone, his health quickly declined. They had given their lives to others and never got the chance to enjoy the adventures they had imagined together. And that's where this adventure was born.
Like so many during the pandemic, Scott and I had time to reflect. What if we didn't wait to chase our adventures? What if we lived the someday now? This June, Scott and I will celebrate 30 years of marriage. Our daughters, Taylor and Megan, are grown and thriving in their own lives. So maybe the time was right. Instead of waiting for retirement, we're taking a gap year. Not to stop for working forever, but to pause, reset, and experience life on our own terms.
We've been lucky to travel internationally, but in that time of reflection during COVID, we realized there still is so much to see right here at home. That's when the idea hit us. Why not explore our own incredible country, the United States of America?
We choose to do it in an RV, giving us the freedom to go where we want, when we want. And we're not trying to hit every state or check off all boxes. This isn't about numbers, it's about the moments, the memories we will make.
We'll visit most of the national parks, but we're just as excited for the places that don't make the postcards. The small towns, the quirky roadside stops, and the hidden stories that give each corner of this country its own unique soul. We've never owned an RV before. We're learning as we go, but that's part of the fun.
And since neither of us is a fan of the cold, we've mapped a route that keeps us chasing the sun. This is our chance to live intentionally, to honor the lessons of the past, and embrace the gift of now.
Okay, so that's the why about episode 1. Hopefully that kind of explains some of the background, and we'll have a few more episodes before we actually go on the road to talk about some of our purchases, which I'll get to in just a minute. But any kind of trip like this, especially for a year, brings with it some negatives, some things that we worry about, both of us, and probably to some respects causes us to decide whether we should do this or not do this. And I think that's kind of the internal turmoil that I think a lot of people think about when they go to take an adventure like this. So I think I know the answer to what I'm about to ask you, but what is your number one worry about going away for an entire year?
Being away from family and friends. I've got elderly parents that are healthy now, but you never know what could happen. We have 2 grown daughters, and so that would take us away from them. One just got married, maybe baby's coming around the corner. We hope they wait just a little bit.
At least 1 year.
Yeah, at least one year. Get us through our trip. And then, what to do with the house. What about our cat? We're going to be bringing Leo, the dog, with us. The job. What about my job? What's going to happen with my job? Finances. There's just a lot of things to think about. We'll be leaving cars here. There's just a lot of thought and went into this, and I hope we figured out most of it.
Some of those things I agree with you on, and being away from your parents and Taylor, who is here in Greenville. Megan's away, so that's a little easier.
A little bit easier.
But my brother and sister are local here in South Carolina. So yeah, being away from everybody, I totally agree with that. And that's certainly the number one. I think that's the number one thing. I think
being away from family.
Yes, there's no question that is the singular thing that would stop somebody from doing something like this. So, and we're going to mitigate some of that, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through, because we're going to have them join us along this trip.
Yes.
All of those people that we just referred to, which will be really cool. And if you follow us along, you'll be able to see that. So while I agree with what you're saying, I think I will add a 1A or a 1B maybe behind family, and that is we're taking a vehicle and a rig and making it a moving house and going across the country. And while there's no guarantee or certainty that there will be a problem, there is certainly a possibility that there is going to be a problem or problems.
Yes.
And so my big worry is, if and when we have an issue, is it a small issue? Is it something that, kind of detours us for a little bit, but doesn't really sidetrack the whole deal? Or is it a major thing from which this whole idea, this whole journey gets sidetracked? So when you take a house and you move it down the road across the country, there are inherent risks that something could go wrong, and hopefully our misses will be small when that happens.
That is what we are hoping.
What, you're confident that?
No, I'm confident we're going to have issues.
Okay.
Yes.
But
And we just hope that we can pivot with them, adjust with them, go with the flow, and hopefully none of them are major.
the none of them are major are the biggest things. I think all the little things you can kind of figure out and go and move on, even if that kind of causes you to have to reroute things
Right.
or not get to do something that you were going to do because of
Right.
that. The little things I think we can deal with. The big things we hope we avoid.
Yep.
But if you're going to sit around at your house or home or wherever you're at and worry about big things happening to you, you're just never going to enjoy life. I mean,
Right.
that's the risk that you take when you do things like that. So, episode 1's in the book. We've got a couple more episodes before we go out on the road, which is going to be just kind of chronicling where we go. We'll give some reviews of where we stay, some places we eat, hikes we do, adventures we take. We're going to do all of that as we go through and hope that you will follow us along. And then, but before we leave on the journey, we've got a couple of more episodes prior to leaving. We're going to talk about what we bought because it was a lot of things we bought.
It was a lot of stuff.
It's
Two
not-
big things.
Two big things.
Lots of little things.
Two big things and lots of little things. We're going to talk about all of those things. And the other thing about all this is that we knew nothing about RVing. Nothing.
Nothing.
So we had to kind of reconfigure our home, or we chose to reconfigure our home so that we could have the RV here and learn how to use it, how to stock it,
Yes.
how to modify it for a year-long trip.
Make it into our tiny home.
Yeah, a little tiny home, which we're still doing, and that's
Yes.
why we need those 60 days
Yes.
between
Today.
now and recording this and actually going on the trip. So we will have those in a couple of episodes before we leave for the trip. So glad you're joining us. It's Reimer on the Road, Ann and Scott, and that is episode 1 in the books. We'll see you down the road. Do it today.
Bye.